All right, welcome to the Prospect Podcast on a great Thursday day. We're excited to talk with Dr. Justin Lima, discussing strength conditioning and strength coach network, and all those kind of good things. Before we do that, I'm Coach Human, and to my left, I have Coach D, and we're excited to talk with Dr. Lima today more about that. Um, Dr. Lim, if you can go into your background as far as within the strength and conditioning industry, coaching, um, and then how you started the Strength Coach Network, and where you guys are going from there.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. And so my background, I played Division III football. I was a 225-pound high school athlete that got bigger, faster, stronger in college. My offensive line coach owned a gym. He was a powerlifting guy, right? We had some powerlifting meets, some USAPL meets there back in the day, and got up to 300 pounds. And I became better just because I was bigger. I could move people around. Career ends, coach, because my playing days are over, and I'm like, all right, I played D3 football. I didn't even look at going to the next level. And my position coach was like, hey, would you coach with me? Because I don't want to coach all these guys. I want some help. You were a captain, you were kind of a coach on the field. And that was kind of the first little like, okay, let me look into this. So I agreed to be his coach, and I eventually go to grad school for strength and conditioning. This was after getting a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. So I start working for him in the offensive line while going to grad school for strength and conditioning. My internship, I go to Harvard because I need an internship to graduate. Harvard leads me to Iowa, where I work with the football team. Do an internship there. That leads me to College Park, Maryland, where I was with Coach Drew Wilson, who's now with the New York Giants. That time there with him for 2 years leads me to work with Chris Doyle for 5.5 years, from 13 to 18. I leave there to go be the head football strength coach at Towson. I run and I'm in charge of other teams as well at Towson, but my main responsibility was football. That football coach gets replaced. We know how that works in Division I football. So my wife and I were like, hey, what do we do now? Do we want to get back into this, or let's kind of settle down? And we decide that that's what we want to do. So we move back to Iowa, where she's from. I buy Strength Coach Network from Kier. And now I'm working with football athletes, high school, college, in the Ankeny area, which is technically in the Des Moines metropolitan area.
Okay, are you training athletes as well as running the Strength Coach Network?
Yeah, I got athletes at 4 p.m. today, and then another group tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning. Had athletes yesterday at 4 p.m. So I'm still got my hand in coaching, whether it's groups, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's remote. I still use my Team Builder account. Shout out to them. They've been a long-time supporter of Strength Coach Network for a while. But I've been a user. I've been a user before they were doing anything with Strength Coach Network. Like, we got it at Towson in 2019. And so I use that with my in-person and my remote athletes. So yeah.
Very cool. What made you get into the strength and conditioning field? Like, what was it about strength and conditioning that you kind of appealed to you and keeps you in it?
The fact that you can help people become a better version of themselves, and they're doing things that they don't think that they can actually do. Like, they can get bigger. They don't think they can get bigger. They can get stronger. They don't think they can get stronger. They don't think they can get faster. Or like the positive impact you can have with these young men and young women, because I train football players, but I also train soccer players, volleyball players. I train them all because I did it at Harvard. I did it at Towson. Golfers, right? Like baseball players, doesn't matter. And I had a girl come and train with me this summer because her dad was like, hey, so-and-so needs to get ready for soccer. I know she'll do better if she lifts with you rather than just on her own. And so she passed her beep test, and that was like a really big thing to her. So helping athletes and people do things that they didn't think they could do through strength and conditioning, like, that's awesome, right? Like it really is that simple. And the field of exercise and health and fitness is so bastardized with just these extremists saying, oh, you only need to do this. And that's what sells, but that's not what's real and what's tried and true, and what will work over time.
There is a lot of stuff that obviously is always constantly evolving within strength conditioning. What are some of the foundational things that you think are most important for athletes that they need to have in strength and conditioning in order to really be successful?
just pure strength and like being strong, being in shape, and being powerful, because we put the cart before the horse way too many times. We want to specialize, we want to do all these things before athletes are actually really, really strong, like in just basic foundational patterns. And everybody says it, but squat, lunge, hinge, press, pull. Like, how strong are you for your own strength? Yes, you need to kind of compare yourself to normative data of people around you, but at the end of the day, I wasn't the best in the weight room, but I was still really good at my sport. So it's the two ditches. You don't need to fall in the ditch of like, oh, it's only about chasing weight room numbers and being a 2 times body weight squat. No, that's wrong. But then it's like, well, it doesn't matter what I do in the weight room because it's all about the field. Yes and no, because being strong and healthy and robust in the weight room and building up general strength, tendon strength, increased cardiovascular output, like that will help you be a better athlete too. So it's avoiding both of those ditches. But the tried and true principles that are still around, those are the ones that aren't the fads. It's barbells, it's dumbbells, it's throwing an implement against the wall or up into the air so it's projecting and leaving your hands. And good technology just helps you do that better. So your Hawken dynamic force plates help you see how much force is going into the ground when you're jumping. Your VBT unit is helping you quantify how fast you're moving that bar, and it's also dialing in your intent when you're doing whatever exercise, because now you get instant feedback on, oh, well, this is actually how fast I move the rep. And when I'm not setting my back and squeezing the bar really tight when I squat, I have poor technique. When I have poor technique, now I have a greater chance for injury, but I also can't move as much weight. I can't move as much weight. I don't get as strong. I don't get as strong. Now my risk for injury goes up.
With great points. With respect to like stuff, so you see, there's a ton of things now with respect to strength versus speed. Where does strength affect speed? How what is the level of strength needed in order to accomplish more speed? Is that relevant? And there's like a lot of arguments going back and forth. You're probably familiar with Tony Holler on who has obviously he's a big speed advocate, and speed, getting more speed and development over time. Does the weight room and I won't even say the on the feed the speed on the field factor, because that's obviously an always important part of what you're doing, but the weight room versus development of speed, like where's the balance on that? What are your kind of thoughts from that standpoint?
I'd always backtrack and figure out like, hey, who's the athlete? What's the time of the year? What are we going for? Because we're all like strength coaches,
Right.
we're stress managers, we're trying to fill buckets. I mean, Tony Holler's stuff in terms of, record, rank, publish. We were doing that at Iowa back in 2013 and 14. Like we were just trying to continue, like human beings were competitive. Like you go to a
Right.
pinball machine and you see, oh, that's the top score. Like
Of
you
course.
want to try to beat it, right? Like it really is that simple. So like, again, we've been record, ranking, and publishing since 2013, 2014. I was literally in charge of what's called the Hawkeye. It was called the Hawkeye Challenge. We changed the name in 17 to Hawkeye Championship. And my job was literally in the off season, record, rank, publish, sled sprints, change in direction drills, right? So the record, rank, publish stuff is awesome to drive intent and to get a more potent stimulus of running, of lifting, if we're going to do a 60% AMRAP on any movement. The problem again is when you fall into these ditches and it's only speed, or it can't be only, right? It's
Right.
not only, you need both. And so in season, yes, you have to hit some max velocity work because the game itself might not give you the exposure to the max velocity, but you also need that strength, because in the weight room you have to tap into type 2 muscle fibers. Yes, you tap into them when you're doing your high speed sprinting, but you also have to get the sarcomere integrity and the strength and the myofibril strength gains that occur from heavy weight being put on your body, and you having to have the muscular contraction for it. So that way you can get your muscular adaptation, not to mention the fact when you're lifting heavy concentrically, the research has been pretty clear. Jake Turr talks a lot about it, but he's got great hosts on it as well with Ebony Rio, and I'm going to forget the rest of their names, and I apologize because I've talked about them before, but the fact of when you lift slow and heavy, it doesn't have to only be eccentrics or isometrics, but heavy concentric work, that musculo tendon junction, because it's not muscle to bone, it's muscle to tendon to bone. that now tendon becomes a little bit more pliable, because if it's too pliable, then now you're not plyometric and bouncy and fast enough off the ground. If you're only running, then you're too tendony and you could be getting that pain. So when you have that fine balance, right, that's not sexy to sell, but it's reality and it's what you need to do. And it's what I did with my athletes when I was at Towson and when we were blending that. Like, that's the reality, but it doesn't sell.
That's a that's a great point. Yeah, well, no longer, because right, people think that they have a lot of better information with respect to strength, right? And there's so much programming involved, right? That's out there that you can grab, that you can get certain things from a strength standpoint, and that becomes more of the sexy thing, right? Like speed, 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 speed. And it's always a balance. I mean, to me, it's always a balance of, and like you said, where you are in season versus out of season. What are you, how important is it for you to hit certain levels of max speed? Okay. And when is that important, and when is it important to rest? As far as like with respect to like load level, out of season versus in season, like where do you like to keep your athletes? I'm obviously everything's specific to what they're,
Yeah.
each individual, but some generalities, like what are you looking at as far as load levels for your athletes?
In season, I mean, so if we're going to talk specifically football, like my O lineman and D lineman, like D lineman, your edge guys, maybe you can make the argument for them, and depending on what kind of defense you're playing in, but your nose, your three techs, your interior linemen, like they can just get away with doing some 10 or 20 yard, 10 to 15 yard sprints just to touch on that quality. And realistically, 2 to 3 reps during the week is all they need. And you can get that done at the end of the warm up, probably game day +2, maybe 3. All right. So before you're playing. So if you're playing on a Saturday, probably dose that in on a Wednesday, maybe Tuesday if you want. Your skill players, you're going to probably need to crank that up a little bit more. You're going to want them around 91 to 92%. And again, in season, probably 3 to 4 reps, and you can touch that however you want. Like, and especially if you've got a higher trained athlete who's been around you for a while and and you can trust them, you can probably pump that number up, 6, 7, 8. Haha. Anybody that just realized I said 6, 7, 6, 7.
Yeah. 6, 7.
I just said it. Which, total aside, the fact that everybody gets mad about 6, 7, but it's like we all come from the 3, 6, 9. Like, people don't understand. What that means.
Yeah.
No.
But like, they can handle that. So it's again, it's about giving, yes, the minimal effective dose to get what they need, but then it's also giving them the max recoverable work. So the minimal effective dose for somebody with a really high training age might be they need 5 reps, right? Like the Aaron Darnolds of the world that were as extreme as they were, for them to feel what they need to feel, 3 is under training. For that other athlete, that's perfect. So you have to know that as the coach. You have to know your athlete and know who you're working with. So that would be my in-season. Off-season, try. This is where we're in season. You're trying not to burn the cake. Off-season, you got to bake the cake, right? Or the barbecue, whatever you want to talk about. Like my father-in-law, he smokes ribs, smokes meat, and it's like, all right, that thing's got to take some time to cook. And so that's in the off-season, where how much work can we give these kids and they can still recover from? Because athletes are way more novice than we want to give them credit for. They can be fantastic on the field, but in the weight room, in terms of like, they can still do a boring program and still get a ton of gains out of it. We as coaches can get too bored with things and not want to, we'll want to progress too quickly. So you can be doing acceleration drills 10, 15, 20 yards and getting at least 8 repetitions of that in the offseason. 8, push it to 12. Maybe you give them a little bit more time. You give them some sets in between so they're more fresh. Your flies, push the flies, do a 20-yard fly instead of just a fly 10, and then go ahead and correspond. Like, okay, if it's 20 yards, equate for the fact you got part of the build, you can push that to 6, 7, 8 reps. Like, they need that work. So then that way they are a more robust person. Make it a really, really big pyramid. In the bottom of the pyramid of Coach Bondarchuk, shout out to him for putting this pyramid together like 30, 40 years ago, of general physical exercises, GPP. and then the SPP, so specific physical prep, specific physical exercises, those need to be so big and so wide before we can then start putting the developmental exercises and the competitive exercises on top of it. And we've just got to train these athletes, and it's boring, but that's where you as the coach, having a relationship with the athletes, to talk to them during the downtime, focus on, connecting with them as a human being, that will make those quote unquote dead time a little bit less dead and less boring. And if you need to, add in a couple drills to emphasize whatever, if it's projection, switching, stability on the ground, whatever thing you see that they need, give them a quick, easy drill to kind of fill that gap, and then let them go do the rep again.
No, I think that's a good point of it. That general strength and development. I think that's the thing that people try to jump quickly past, and I feel like that a lot of trainers, obviously, that doesn't get you on Instagram, right? That doesn't get you on, people going, oh, I want to pay for you to go. And then the problem is that they're locked into the sexy stuff that they showed on Instagram. No one wants to go and do the stuff that's before that until they can do those things. And I think that's a general problem that you see in a lot of different training areas when people go to trainers. And I've seen it and the problem really goes below high school. It goes to the foundational level, because so many young kids are going to trainers now, and they're jumping right into a lot of more difficult, I wouldn't even use the word difficult, high intensity exercises that they haven't developed certain level of ground foundations that would allow them to be able to do that. And next thing you know, young kids are having, especially as they're growing so fast, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had that with my own son. Like, they're growing so fast. There are other things besides the strength and conditioning element that go into younger athletes, right? When they hit puberty, it's actually easier, because when they hit puberty, they're now okay. Now they're you can see that they're getting the man juices, or they're becoming a woman, and now there's certain things they're starting to reach their growth levels that are getting to maxing out. So now okay, this is the framework I'm working with, right? But with younger athletes who may be just beginning to go through puberty or before that, they're also training now. But what's happening is parents are jumping them into such high levels of specificity that, right, and they haven't done any groundwork. Like they let's forget that most of them can't do a pull-up. I mean, which is mind-blowing, by the way. But I mean, it was mind-blowing the first time I had my son, who's very strong naturally, couldn't do a pull-up, right? Because he's a big. I was like shocked, because that was developed in the gym classes when you were a kid. You know what I mean? A lot of that work was actually done in gym classes when they were youth athletes. They weren't even youth athletes. They were just in gym class, right?
Yeah.
And they were doing push-ups. They were doing sit-ups or some version of that. They were doing literally squat thrusts, right? Like literally foundational things. Like, Derek, you might remember the gym dollies and all these. Those are gone. All those things are gone, right? And then basic movement skills, like it's good they got rid of the heavy red dodgeballs that were that used to knock people out. But you could still play similar type games for a movement standpoint, because it was very good for movement, like side to side movement, back and forward, throwing, right? Actually throwing development without putting any stress on literally how hard you're throwing, because you got to strike someone out. You're throwing to the level that you could throw to with a dodgeball, right? You couldn't throw it any harder. And most kids, if you remember with the dodgeball, because the big red ball was big, they would throw underhand in the beginning, right? So then they developed strength and they could throw overhand as they got older. So the gym class used to do a lot of stuff, but then I guess everyone started getting injured in gym class and climbing a rope. And, you had gym teachers maybe that didn't take care of all the things they needed to do, and that rolled downhill, and that started to get eliminated. Trainers filled the gap, obviously, which allows you to be able to have a job and everybody, right? But they jump so much into specificity. What so you talked about general fitness. Like if a trainer's starting out and this is part of your educational part of your business, right? What are the things that they should be doing with younger athletes, pre-pubescent or just beginning to hit puberty that could give them the foundations to really start to develop?
Bring play back, like you said, like, and make it that
Yeah.
organized, safe space play that kids maybe don't get. So like they can, and this is where too many parent, and again, here's the ditches. Like people, oh, well, they can't strength train. They can't. Why? Why can't they do some isometric strength training? Why can't they do some, like, sure, they don't need to be doing dumbbell rear foot elevated split squats, but they can do step ups, right?
Of
Like, because
course.
they
Of
walk up
course.
and down stairs. Why can't they do a drop jump? Because if you watch kids play in a playground, they
That's
literally
all they
jump
do.
off of something and land on the ground. So like
Everything.
just teach them how to do it a little bit better, right? And then bring back the play. So bring out some version of a monkey bar for them to hang on. Bring out a rope for them to climb and swing on. Bring out it where it's a creative way to jump over a box and tumble and roll on the ground. Like that's what we do at Goldfinch with our rookie class. So to be a rookie, you have to at least be in middle school. And for us, the definition of middle school is out of fifth grade. So sixth and seventh grade. And then our sports, third, fourth, fifth. Third, fourth, fifth is our rookies. And then six, seven, I just said it again, 6, 7, 8, that's our sports performance. Like now we'll take it a little bit more seriously. And then once you're in high school, we'll do it even more. But for our rookies, it's organized play. It's taking a medicine ball and throwing it against the wall and telling you, I actually want you to throw this to try to break it. Try to break that. You're not going to, and if you do, we'll buy a new one. Break the med ball, break the wall, like be violent and throw this darn thing and bring back that kind of play. And yeah, we're not going to barbell back squat you, but sure, we're going to do a lot of wall sits. And then maybe we'll hold a dumbbell and squat down onto a box and then kind of teach you how to do a goblet squat that way. And then now you have technical competency of understanding, oh, okay, when I squat, my feet are shoulder width apart, toes slightly turns out, ab tight, back tight, chest up, eye straight ahead. Okay, cool. I have that foundational pattern, that house, that frame set. Now, when I want to go to a front squat, a back squat, I understand as an athlete how to do that. Oh, and by the way, I have technical competency on how to roll, how to get up off the ground, how to being able to do a side plank, a front plank, a side plank, some ab movements, a push-up, whether it's hand elevated or not. Like that's what they should be doing. And there's nothing wrong with it, especially when you just take a look. Like I'm going to be going to, I do Kids Hope USA. It's a mentorship program, one mentor, one mentee, 1 hour a week to a kid that is in elementary school that can benefit from it. We go outside during recess. And if you watch what kids do, they just do organized play. So they can do it if they get it removed from them. And you got to think about it. Too many sport performance coaches, they bring out a rainbow of cones and they think they're a great coach because, oh, run to this cone, run to that. It's like that. There's no cones in sport. Like in the sport coaches at Towson, they didn't really like me because I was like, no, they don't have to touch the line with their hand. They can touch it with their foot. Or if we're doing this drill and I'm just working on change of direction in space, I don't care if they touch the line with their foot because guess what? When you run a 7-yard dig or you run a deep 7 route, you're not running to an exact line. You're reading the D line. I'm just specifically trying to get change in direction at the hip, ankle, and knee so the tissue is prepared for high-speed violent contraction when you go to practice. I don't give a darn where your hands are when we're contact prepping. I need wrist, elbow, shoulder to handle tons of load in various directions. So when your coach does care and wants to teach you something, I know that the muscles, tendons, and ligaments have been prepared.
No doubt about it. I think that's a huge thing that I don't know why guys miss these foundational aspects of it, but they jump them into things and then kids, they immediately make things survival of the fittest, right? And I don't mean survival of the fittest meaning in the long run. I mean in that exact moment, the ones who can survive it physically are the only ones that get through it. Everybody else falls off by the wayside. It has zero to do with how to develop it. I used to love back. I don't know if he does it anymore, but Bill Parisi used to have that pyramid with his development of from a training standpoint, and you used to have it from they were little. They progressed different levels, and it was certain skills that they had to be able to do. I used to think that was a really good way of teaching. And then to this day, we probably still have a lot of clients that come in there because of that. Showing them, until you can do this, we don't want to progress to that. And you get some level of foundational strength
Yep.
and speed, right? And movement, right? I agree. Like the play, like simply playing tag and chasing somebody is a great way to do different things, But as things got eliminated, like I mean, I mean, they don't do this. They definitely don't do this anymore. But I remember, like, at recess, a football would be down the middle, and the guy who picks it up, you would go and get him, right? And you got good at literally shaking people, the guys who were really good at avoiding people, because guys were trying to come to get you. And it was, I mean, I used to love that game. I'm sure there were kids who hated that game, and that's who probably complained, and then down the line that got eliminated. But it really, like, how else are you going to avoid it? If you're going to avoid people, if you have no blocking, you learn how to do it pretty quickly. Those kind of foundational things. I think recess is obviously really good for that. I think that's really important. When you advise other coaches that come onto your network, because I think that's a huge part of what you're doing, and you have a lot of, you have video, you have all the stuff in your system that allows them to find the things that they need to find. What do you advise coaches that are, that are first starting out? Like, where should they go within your system, your online system, in order to get what they need to get better, right? They're fresh out of college. Maybe they get their CS, or they're just exercise phys or whatever. And where should they go if they want to go into that career?
I literally have all of our webinars broken up for young coaches, if you've been established, and if you're a head strength coach. So it would literally be in the membership library, click on the link that says aspiring strength coach. And in that list of webinars, we've got 183 inside the network. So there's about 50 to 60 of them for just a young strength coach. And that's introduction to all the different sports. That's introduction to linear periodization and to foundational strength, foundational hypertrophy. So they can learn the nuts and bolts and, like, oh, if I work with a field hockey athlete, yeah, Justin, no, I could go train a field hockey athlete really well. I'm perfectly capable of doing it, and doing it at a high level. But I am good at it because I've learned from a guy who worked or still works with the German national team and has won Olympic medals training field hockey athletes. So yes, I can give you some advice, but I think you'd be better off listening to that person, or anybody that's worked with golf athletes. Like, hey, all of our presentations are from coaches that have worked with the best. So I've gotten good from my experience working with athletes, but I've gained that foresight knowledge from being a Strength Coach Network member beforehand. So any of those young strength coaches, like, we have it where they get a membership as a GA, or they're still in school, and it's just, hey, start here, learn the different sports, learn how to speak the language that your sport coach is speaking, 100%. To build buy-in, but you have to learn to talk the way that they talk. And if you don't, they're not going to give a damn what you have to say. Neither will the athletes. So they would start in there, and they'd consume all those. They'd learn, like, what is this 1x20? Because it doesn't get taught in universities, and it should. But that system is broken as well. So learn linear periodization, learn 1x20, learn how to apply it, ask questions in the forum, send me questions. Let me help you with your resume. And then, okay, cool. Now that you have a job, let's help you learn how to go from just a GA to an entry-level position to, okay, now you're an established strength coach, which means if you're going to work in an Olympic department, you're technically going to be labeled an assistant under human resources, but you're a head strength coach for about 3 to 4 sports. Okay, let me help you understand how to run a room, how to build systems. And okay, well, now if you want to go from that to a head, as a head strength coach, what got you into that position as a really good head strength coach is not going to be the thing that helps you be a good director. You have to learn people skills. You have to learn how to create systems in place and see things from a detached point of view. So we literally guide you over the entire course of your career.
That's phenomenal. And so they're able to take the different webinars and be able to see the different presentations, probably from stuff you've grabbed from any podcast you've done, and be able to put all that stuff online, and cutting up specific stuff and giving the right to the point actions to be able to learn. when coaches come to you and are curious about like programming, so they can go to webinar, and then there are guys that have still come out of there, even if you give them stuff, they still like don't know because it's so much information for them, right? And guys get overwhelmed. What are a few nuts and bolts that the guys need to have when they're first coming into the industry, and foundationally they need to know if they're applying a program for for the first time with colleges, right? And obviously they'll have a head guy over them that's going to give them programming, but what are the things they need to know when they go and work with athletes at that level?
Rule number one is your room and your program is dedicated on your room, period. You cannot program for things that you don't have, and you cannot program for things if you can't program back squat and pull up if you have a half rack, because you're going to be pulling up into a bar that is rested. Like, you need to understand the facility constraints of your room. So that's where it starts. And that's the whole point of having a membership to Strength Coach Network, because you can ask those questions. Hey, where do I go? What do I do for my programming? I watch this webinar.
So Justin, just to be clear, you're literally talking about physically going into the job you just attained, or going to that school and physically looking at the weight room and saying, look, literally doing an inventory of, we have this, we don't have, right? Because that's what it would be, right? And you kind of can take it from, all right, we have this, and now, your system or program they could go and say, all right, well, I want to do this. How do I use whatever I have? Or they could just plug it back in and back and forth. That's
exactly. And that's the whole point of it.
Awesome.
Can't just be cookie cutter program of, oh, well, day one, week one, we do. It's like, no, like,
right. It's like, dude, you don't even have that rack. Like,
yes.
You don't even have those dumbbells. You don't have those med balls or that actual equipment, or, and I think we see it a lot now, Dave, too, right? With the influx of technology within weight rooms and strength programs themselves, guys want to just go and do all of these things. And a lot of times, especially at high school level where I am, like, that's not happening, right? Like, you can't even get 50 guys into the weight room at one time. You have to get extremely creative with the way these guys do that. And that's something you can help with.
Yeah, that's exactly, like, that's literally what my job is. And I get to do it all across the country, all across the world, where it's like, okay, hey, I got this new job, like, and I want to program this. Like, okay, cool. Send me your program. It's the first time you've worked with this team. I'll look at it with you. And then it's like, okay, cool, but here's your facility constraints. Like, you now need to make sure you're pairing a movement at the rack with a movement at the dumbbell bay. And then, okay, you're training how many athletes at a time? How many racks do you have? That means it's 3 to 4 to a rack. Okay, are these young kids that have never trained before? Now you need to make sure that if there's four kids at a rack, you need 3 movements and then 1 kid spotting. So you now know you're either doing this, you're spotting this exercise or this exercise. And if you're not doing one of the 4, you're wrong. So you're playing traffic cop at first, but you have to understand what is your facility constraints at first. That is number 1 for your program. Number 2 is then the kids that you have, because you could have all the room in the world, but if you don't have athletes that are technically competent in how to actually understand and foundationally do, and again, I'm going to use back squat as an example, or a bench press, but if they're shaky going down, you don't need to put chains and triphasic and all these different contraction types. You need the neuromuscular
back to the whole, it looks pretty, right? Like, back to the whole, it looks really good, but like,
and that's it does. It looks really cute, but you know what? Like, that's why I used to get really pissed about it. And I still from time to time will, but I draw on a conversation that I got to have with Marshall Yonda when he would come back from playing with the Ravens. He'd come and train with us at Iowa, and I was blessed by God to be able to be working there at the time and able to train him. And I asked him one time, I was like, bro, how do you handle the fact that you've got all these talented people that are on your team that are lazy? He's like, bro, if it wasn't for them being lazy, I wouldn't have a job. He's like, they're literally more talented than me. So if it wasn't for all this BS out there of like, oh, do this, oh, do that, then I wouldn't be able to be like, hey, that looks cute, but let's keep the main thing, because that cute thing is just one tool in the toolbox. Because if I'm a craftsman and I'm going to go, I want to go build your house, but I only build houses with hammers. They'd be like, well, how are you going to like cut this? Well, I'm going to cut it with my hammer. It's like, no, you're a dummy. So make sure you have kids that can do the program that you want. From there, you have the room you want, you have the kids that can do what they want. Awesome. now start training them. You can have things split up by training age, training maturity, but you got to get parts 1 and 2 done first. And I mean, there's a reason that, like, it's biblically said, like, a house that's built on sand is going to sink. Like, and again, I'm sorry it's not cute, but that's just the reality.
No doubt about it. Do you get pushback from coaches when you kind of go into those kind of things? Like, how do you handle that
They're
aspect?
usually really like, you know what? I didn't even think about, like, because they're just so
Right.
like, they're just like, they're like, I didn't even think about it that way, because they just get fed it. They get fed all this stuff.
Right.
And because this is instantly just so outside of what they're used to hearing, it literally is like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about it like that. And then once you start to explain to them, like, it's from one of my favorite movies of all time, My Cousin Vinny. And he's talking, he's like,
God.
hey, he's like, he's going to present this, and he's going to show you how to bricks. They're so perfect. And he's going to lay it. He goes, and then he's going to realize that it's thin and it's a house made of cards because it's not real.
Right.
Right. And it's the same exact thing. And you're just like, listen, hey, let me actually explain to you, like, okay, this person said this, pull on that thread. Well, what about this? Oh, that's a good point. Yes. Listen to what I'm saying. ... And they're like, huh, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks, coach. I never thought about it that way.
So it's a big deal. And then when athletes start to get to a different level, right, where they're beyond the general areas, and when coaches are working with them, when they start to do specific base stuff, what percentage of that is part of the overall work, and what percentage of the foundational stuff is the part of the work? Where should they begin to program those kind of things, and how do you look at that?
About 80-20, 80% of it's going to be your tried and true meat and potatoes, just getting stronger and, just more, because we're generalists in the weight room and on the field. Right. And then
Right.
we help support the coach with their specific stuff. And then 20%, you can sprinkle in those sport specific things that you're doing it to create buy-in. And there's been so many different people that have talked about it. Like an example instantly that I think of is where Jocko would talk about, like, okay, is if somebody's recommending doing something and it's not negligent, nobody's going to get hurt, but you can say yes and build leadership capital. So that's those 20%, those whatever movement somebody sees and thinks will help them. We know the mind is a powerful tool. So if you can give them the gift of what they want wrapped in a box of what they need with other things, and you can build buy-in that way, that's what you do. That's
Right.
what you're able to sell to them. But it's like with my kids. Do you want a ham sandwich or a turkey sandwich? Bro, you're eating protein. I don't care. But you have the illusion of choice. Same thing with the athletes and sport coaches. Hey, you love that movement. Cool. We've got the ability to do it. Cool. Here's how we're going to blend it in, and here's how we're going to make it all work. You feel empowered, you have autonomy, but at the end of the day, I, the parent, the strength coach, know what's actually best for you. And that's the thing too, like all these problems in society and the world, like we don't need to go down rabbit holes, but it's from parents that don't want to be parents. It's coaches that don't want to be coaches. Everybody wants to be everybody's. And it's like, listen, I can speak truth to you in love. I can love you and speak the truth. It's not one or the other. And sometimes the most loving thing to do is tell you, hey, what you're doing is wrong. Here's X, Y, and Z. I'm going to love you and walk with you. Let's change what you're doing.
There's
right,
no doubt.
100%. Like, and that's like, for me as a school coach, I feel that all the time, right? It's like, hey, you told me as a sophomore or whatever it is, like you told me you wanted to play college football, right? So there are guys on this team that don't want to play college football. Coach, I just want to have a really good high school career, and then I'm going to work. You know what I mean? So look, I'm gonna coach you different, right? Like I'm gonna hold you who wants to play college football to a higher standard to better prepare you. And you might not like that because when that guy drops the pass or misses a tackle, and I say, hey, next time, bud, or but then and don't say much. But when you do it, I'm all over you, and you don't like that. Understand it's because I care and I want to put you in the best position to kind of move forward. Do you find pushback on that, Justin, when you're coming to it in terms of that, whether it be parents or athletes or that type of thing, when you're dealing with them and talking to them, when you have to have those really hard conversations? Like, how do you deal with that?
Golly, the number of kids that just like don't care. And it's like, okay, I want you to be a 10. Right. you're a 3 and you want to be a 5, I have to be okay with letting you just be a 5. And it's
All
so
right.
hard for me.
It's
It's
hard.
so
Frustrating.
hard. But
It's
you
really
just
hard.
kind of, and it's like, you know what? I can't go and push you out of your comfort zone. Like I had a perfect example of an athlete yesterday. It's like, I can't do anything with this arm. And I'm like, mind you, I just watched you. I literally just watched you sprint. So I know you're not recovering from a torn labrum. I'm like,
Right.
like you can't do, we were supposed to do farmer's carry. She's like, I can't do anything in this shoulder. I was like, if you don't mind my asking, what'd you do? She's like, my father's a chiropractor and I strained my deltoid. I was like, oh my gosh, like your dad's cray and now you're cray. And it's like, you know what? You got to do what you're going to do. Mind you, I've got another group of athletes where mom's like, hey, if he's not giving you his all, tell me and I'll fix it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
And I can't care more than the athlete. So it's just like,
you can't, right.
Well,
100%.
I just got to let you do this. And it's like, okay, I'm going to be here for you when you're ready to change and I'll push you when you're ready to be pushed. But if you want to stay right inside your little comfort box, cool. I'm going to go spend my time over here training these athletes. Oh, they don't care either. I'm going to organize the weight room and make sure everybody's safe as you're training because I just can't care more than you. I'm not going to be negligent, but I'm not going to drive myself insane because I've been there where like a shout out to Mike Chapman. When we worked together at Towson, he's like, brother, you can give yourself a heart attack. And these kids didn't even think about it 5 minutes after they left the weight room. He's like, and
100%.
that's just the reality. Like you can't care more than them. You can lead the horse to water. Yes. I can make them thirsty by giving them salt. Yes. But at the end of the day, if they want to pass out from not drinking the water, that's their choice.
Right.
And piggyback on that, Justin. Go ahead, Dave. No, go ahead. No, I was going to say, was there more or less of that when you were in comparison from Iowa to Towson, right? Like, because everybody always wants to talk about level, right? Like what level are they at? Oh, this is an FCS program. Oh, this is this is a Power 4 program. Right now, you're working with high school athletes. Do you see more or less of that? Look, Dave works with youth, right? I work with high school. Like, do you see more of more buy-in from the Power 4 guys, more buy-in from the FCS guys? It seems like obviously what's the answer to that question, but like I'm curious is there more, is there less, is it the same, does it depend on the specific team or where they are, right? Because we see a lot of like at least for me, hey, this guy's here because his friends are here, or this guy's here because look, dad played here and you're playing because dad wants you here, right? Like, did you see more or less of that, or do you see more or less of that?
I mean, not so much. Again, it's just going to be all dependent on the recruiting coordinators and the coaches, because like I went from Maryland to Iowa and there was an instant, just like it all is the philosophy of the coaches. Are they going to bring in talented kids that don't have it? Or are they going to bring in it kids that have talent? Which one is going to be more? And how are then those kids raised by mom and dad? Do they have the grittiness to stick through when things get difficult? Or do they, the minute things get difficult, they want to turn around and quit? And so it's all about the parents, because sure, like Rob Ambrose had a great quote at Towson. Sometimes our job is to kick the apple far from the tree. Mom and dad could have done a really poor job and we're trying to help, but we still at best have maybe 5 years because the COVID rule years are done with. And so like you've got 5 years to undo what mom and dad did for 18. It's still really hard because mom and dad at the end of the day still carry a lot of weight. So like it's you got to do a great job identifying mom and dad that have built a program that like raising adult and care. Like that's what it's about. Like, yeah, sure. Bring a really talented person in, and you can't have untalented people, but if you just have a room full of people that like, that doesn't mean that talented person doesn't have a good rock foundation of mom and dad. Like you've got to find parents that have done it the right way, because that's the key to the success. It's mom and dad and how they were raised. And then, yes, you can help them be better, but like mom and dad doing what they do, like that's the key. Because I had some guys that were great at Towson that really understood.
And it's one of those things too. Like we tell, I try to tell those higher level athletes, right? Like, hey man, like when you're going on this visit, like who are you bringing with you? Like who's going with you, man? Because I will be very honest. Like there are like coaches are recruiting whoever goes with you too, they know they got to associate with that person in some way, shape, or form for the next 5 years too. Like mom and dad are getting recruited as well here a little bit, right? Depending on obviously how that, yeah. Like, what do I wear? I'm like, well, don't tell mom not to wear her pajamas. Like,
when you go, just understand they're looking for a reason not to take you.
Yeah,
like they already know why they want you. They're looking up dirt to figure out like, hey, why shouldn't I bring this person in? Why won't they be a fit?
Absolutely.
Correct.
I think that's a huge part of it. And I think in today's world, because there's so much information out there, you're in a situation where parents really are the key aspect to whether the kid is going to have a chance to be successful at the next level. Whereas, like I would say, like like when LeBron was coming up, he was still part of an era where you had got a lot more anomalies, where guys were from, came from a bad situation. Someone took care of them. He had an opportunity to succeed because of that. That has changed a lot in the last 20 years. That even kids of less financial means have a direction to be able to go, much more so than ever. I mean, really, really much more so. It's not only, because I see all these things on like podcasts and stuff, and about everything's more expensive. And that is true. That is true.
Yes.
But I think about when I grew up, like if you were really poor and you had there weren't trainers that would do things for free. There was nothing, right? So if you're really poor and you had a bad situation, you didn't have good parents.
Well, you also didn't have a good high school to train at. And now that's not the case now. There's really good high school strength coaches.
And
really
a lot of times poorer schools have really nice facilities because the state government money goes a lot more to them. So there is much more, and that's a great point.
Right.
Opportunities all around. So even if you don't have money, you could go to your own. You don't have to go to a trainer. You can go to your school and get the work that you need to get done. And you're right. In the 80s and probably 90s and probably definitely 70s, those schools were dilapidated. They were not good. They didn't have those situations. So you really had to fight through a lot of things in spite of your situation. Whereas now you can find the resources even in your community, even if you come from a poor community that can, and like, I mean, I don't have to, we watched this year, East St. Louis was playing Bergen Catholic, I think it was, which is a powerhouse in New Jersey. East St. Louis is one of the poorest districts in all of Illinois. And they have one of the best football programs in the state, and they have one of the best football programs around the country, top 25 program. And you would say, okay, those kids all come from a poor environment. Yes, but their school has resources there. And they have coaches there, and they have people there that are able to help them. So maybe they don't have the financial money growing up, but once they get into the system, there is more opportunity for them to be able to be involved, right? And so I'm not saying the home life isn't more difficult, but there is opportunity to be able to have it. And I think that that's a big part of it. And I also, the point you talked about, you can only push them so far, I think is a really, really important point of coaches and for strength and conditioning coaches, is to read where the kid is at, right? Like, you said it, like you want to get them to a 10, and right now they're at a 3, and they're only willing to go to a 5. And I think the point of, let's get them to a 5 and see if they want to go to a 6. And if they get to a 5 and they want to go to a 6, great, we're making progress. If they get to a 5 and they're perfectly content there, your job is probably done at that point. Yep. And then I do think kids, there's a lot of kids who don't know, and a lot of parents who think they know but don't know. And it is a back and forth. And then the other point with the colleges is a really good point, is that they're looking for reasons not to recruit you. I think parents have to be involved in the process, but obviously the kids have to be self-motivated, meaning if a coach or a parent or a trainer advises you, hey, listen, you need to send your stuff to 10 colleges and make sure you follow up with them. And then you ask them and they haven't done it. And if you have to ask them a second time, then that's it. I mean, they're not interested. Leave it alone until they become interested, right?
Yep.
And then if they really are interested at a later point, they will then come to you and say, "Hey, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm ready." And I think that's a tough, really tough part for a strength coach. Much harder than a coach who's coaching them in their position or in their sport. But it is hard for, I think, even harder for a strength coach because you're bringing in the guys. You see the potential of an athlete. You see where they can go, and you know that strength, conditioning, and speed are the ways to get them there. And they're not willing to go there, and you're like, oh, I got to wait for this guy to be ready, or I can only push him a little bit at a time. And then you have some guys
So he
that
figures it out.
then there's some guys you got to be like, listen, you don't need to be here every single day. You're overworking yourself.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like take a day off, and that will actually help you. Take 2 days off. That will help you get better. How is your philosophy in handling each individual athlete? Like, how do you assess where they're at, and how do you assess what you need them to do?
I just start. We literally have a free movement evaluation that we have for our members. We've also given it away to everybody else just on our website, strengthcoachnetwork.com, under free resources, but it's a local and global movement assessment. So starting off with, how does your big toe move? What's your ankle mobility? How's your hamstring flexibility, shoulder, internal, external rotation, T-spine mobility? How well do you do a lunge, forward, backwards, sideways, rotational, hip flexor strength, ab strength, hip abduction, adduction. Okay, cool. Now let's see how you can do a squat. How do you do a push-up? How do you do a pull-up? Let's see you do a drop jump. Let's see you do a single leg landing. Let's see you do a single leg takeoff to a double leg land, vertical and horizontal. Let's do some sprint work. Let's get these very kind of minimal, easy to do, every athlete should be able to run, because before you're an offensive lineman, you're a football player. Before you're a football player, you're an athlete. Before you're an athlete, you're a human. You know, a general athlete should be able to do these things. Let's start local, then let's look global. And that's where I would go. And then it's like, okay, let's look at the way that you move. Is there any glaring issues? Let's fix the issues. Let's also still operate from a position of strength. Once I have that movement assessment of, you know, how you're moving, your power production, then it's like, okay, what's the position you play? Let me draw on my catalog of 16 years working in this industry and say, okay, athletes that play this position in the sport generally need more of X. Let's make sure you get some of X. And then let's look and see, okay, what time of the year it is. Let's sprinkle in some Y. And that's where we go about doing it. And the framework is about 80%. You know, I kind of know standard operating procedure. This is what we're going to do based on the weight room I have, the time constraints I have, and who you are. Right. And then we just go from there.
Perfect. That's pretty awesome stuff. Derek, you have any other questions?
Coach, I appreciate you taking the time, man. It's been awesome. Really, really, you know, eye-opening, obviously, into, you know, kind of where you came from and what you're doing now. The give back, right? I think, which is so pivotal in the world that we're all in, what coaching, whether it's strength and conditioning, whether it's, you know, sport specific, right? Like, coaches just play such a pivotal role. And Dave, we've talked about this before. At the end of the day, right? Like, there's so many resources out there to help our athletes and whatnot, but us helping each other and networking, that I think is something that kind of goes by the wayside sometimes. And I just love the fact that you're willing to do that and help other people be successful along the way, Coach. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for having me on. It was a privilege to be asked.
Strengthcoachnetwork.com, correct?
That's it. That's us.
And what are you on Twitter?
I believe it's STR Coach Network, because that was the handle that was available. But if you just search us on Twitter, we're there.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much, Coach, for coming on, and best of luck. Stuff you're doing is fantastic.
Awesome.
And we'll see you real soon.
Thanks for the kind words, fellas.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. That was great stuff. Really good stuff.
Iowa.
Interesting hearing. Iowa. Yeah. It's always interesting hearing a guy that's more on a strength side standpoint versus a guy that's more on the speed side standpoint. It's an interesting conversation. because they're
Well,
on
I
two.
think
They live more on one side versus the other completely.
But I think what you're seeing a lot more now, right, with guys that are coming out
Specialization.
is they're like a blend, almost like, you know what I mean? Like some guys are old school, all strength, right? Some guys, that's how it used to be, right? There were literally, black, white, strength, speed, strength, speed, strength, speed. When guys started to then see the benefits of both and working together, right? Hey, I have a strength coach. Hey, I have a speed coach, right? Now it's, hey, I have a strength and speed coach, right? Like they're one. I think there's almost like three different groups now, right? The blend, the strength, and and then you have the speed. To see guys now kind of incorporating all of that, right, with everything that they do, I think that's a really interesting topic. And to see where it's gonna go, I don't know. I think you can see some trends that are whatever, but I think it all goes back to specific, the specifics within it, whether it be sport, whether it be position. If we're talking football, position specific within sport, right? Like, coach even talked about, like, it's not all cookie cutter, right? You can't just say, hey, here's the program, here's what you guys do. Well, no, right? Like, this is for the big guys. This is for the skill guys. This is for like freshmen and sophomores. This is for seniors. It has to be that type of specifics, right? Or, attention to detail within the programs that you're developing themselves. And then you have to know your kids. You have to know what buttons to push or who to push or do you want to be pushed. That stuff I think is so much bigger than everything. When it comes down to it, is you got to know your players and know what works for them, and then lead them to like you said, you can to water, but some of them, it doesn't matter. They're going to pass out from not drinking. That's just how it works. You have to be okay with that and worry about, especially when it comes to football, because there's a lot more athletes. You have to worry about the masses rather than just the specific one or two. I think we get caught up with that a lot in coaching, especially football. We want to tier everything to those one or two players that are going to go to the next level. That's not the majority of your team, dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot easier to tweak something for one or two than it is for 70. I think that's really hard. And that doesn't mean that you have to lower the standard or lower the bar, right? Because you can still hold the majority of your team to a high standard and expectation level that, amasses or plays to those masses. Like, but I think a lot of guys get really caught up in like, hey, I have to make it so these one or two guys that are going to play college football are appeased, or, you know what I mean? Like, they're wherever. I think that's really hard to do, though. A lot of guys don't do that.
Yeah, well, it's always it's difficult.
You know what I mean? Like, look at the teams you've had, right? Look at the teams you've had. If you have 5 guys on a high school football team that are going to play college football, you're a really good team, right? And then parents don't understand that world either. Remember, for them, this is something their kids are doing. It should be fun. Everybody should play, all that other kind of shit. But they'll be the first ones to bitch about when you don't win.
Yeah, it's a balance. It's a balancing. It's a balancing act. I mean, because you're developing your overall standard to be higher. You want, you probably are developing, and at least in football, your system around a combination of what your everyday player can do and then what your talented player can do. So, you're trying to figure that out. And they're different individuals within that, and the parents are different within that. And everybody does take things different levels of serious. That's the hardest part is that when you're building a program, if you have a standard that you're holding everybody to, but the parent doesn't hold them to that standard.
Oh God, bro.
Then you have a challenge there, and you have to
try to get difficult.
That's where you have to work with the parents to get them
like
to
Coach just said,
understand.
right?
It,
He just
that's
referenced
a
that.
hard.
Dude.
That's when your program is so. That's when you're building a program. When your program gets really good, the other parents start to hold the other parents accountable. I
Right.
think.
Like, wait, what do you mean you're booking a vacation in October?
But
Like,
when you're not
he's in
there
football.
yet, that's the difficult
And-
part. The difficult.
Oh, you're going on vacation? That's great.
I've always found that's the good,
Timeshare.
the good to great, the good to great scenario, right? That's a great book, by the way. Good to great. The difference between being good is most of the people are on board, right? You know, you're winning more than you lose. Most of the people are on board. You have a high standard. You're striving for that. Your coaches are able to hold players accountable. You run into issues here and there, sometimes with accountability, sometimes with parents, but overall, you would say that it's in the right direction. Great is, and you've talked about this a lot before, the players hold each other accountable. That's part of great. But what really I think takes you to great is not just the parents holding each other accountable.
And that's not, oh, hey,
That's hard. That's the hardest.
That's also like, that also is on a different level of, that doesn't mean, you know what I mean? Like that's not, oh, we have, 15 parents that volunteer to work the snack stand every Friday night.
No.
That's not that. That's
a given to me. Like
you
want to have a good program. Not great.
You're selling 50-50s.
You need parents involved just for a good program. This is what people don't realize. A bad program, okay, nobody wants to volunteer. Nobody wants to do dinners. Nobody wants to hold anybody accountable. And that's a bad program. An average program, maybe your coach has super high standards, okay? And he's trying to hold everybody. And the coaches are, like you say, coaches are holding the kids to high standards. They're not all doing it yet. And parents still question everything. Not all parents.
Everything.
You have half that are on board. You have half that are off board. Good is
always talk about that.
Good, you have you have players starting to hold each other accountable. The coaches definitely are holding players accountable. You have parents that are overwhelming majority on board, but you still don't have. You're never going to get 100% buy-in, even great. But you still got 90. You're not up to 95% buy-in. Where there's the one outlier that's there, or two outliers that are there, right? When you're great, the other parents tell the outliers to shut their mouths. That's when you're great. They're not telling them they can't feel how they feel. Okay,
they're allowed.
You can listen. Especially with skill players, this happens. You get the ball more than me, or blah 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 blah. I get it. I understand. That's competitive nature too, a little bit. Like I want to be the guy. This guy's the guy. I thought I was going to be. That's okay. Okay. But it doesn't need to be expressed. All right. It needs to be
right.
Like it needs to be at home. Listen, you're getting 6 carries. The other guy's getting 10 carries. If you want to get 10 carries, have a chance to get 10 carries. Doesn't mean coach is going to give you 10 carries. You've got to be different. You've got to get better you've got to do something to make sure you can at least be looked at to get 10 carries. Okay. And then the other parents will say, hey, listen, I know your kid is doing really well. And I know he'd love the ball more, but the system doesn't do that. Okay. The system spreads it around, or the system is more going to be, this guy's going to carry the ball more. Your son's doing a great job. Keep encouraging him that he's doing a great job. And maybe at some point he does something unbelievable and coach says, hey, maybe I'll get this guy the ball more. Okay. Linemen, you don't have to worry about that as much with, but skill guys, you do. There's always skill guys. Okay. And that parent then says, you know what? You're right. I do feel this way, but I'm on board with what we got to do to be successful. And that's when you can be great. That's when you can be great. But that is a quick thing that people can jump off on too, right? So but that is when you have the chance to be great. Those are the classes that you have that you say, we are going to make a run at the championship. It doesn't mean you're going to win it because someone can be more talented than you. There's a lot of
you're going to have the opportunity.
But you're going to be a great team. You're going to be a team that's going to be like, people are going to be like, that team's damn good. Okay. And that's going to happen. Okay. You could always run into a better team that is doing the same things that you're doing, have a great program. 100%. When Bosco plays Bergen, they're both great programs. One team is going to win sometimes over another. It may have nothing to do with that other than that team played better on that day. It could simply be that, right? But they're still great programs, and they have those things on board, right? And I think that is the difference. And there are levels to it. Fortunately or unfortunately, I've been through almost all the levels. So I've been through all the levels, and I've seen all the levels. And it allows me to what it's done for me, at least as a coach, is I know where I'm at in a program. Like I can 100%. Identify it almost immediately.
Like where you are.
Yeah. When I'm like, when I start to think, we're on our way to greatness, and then certain things happen, I'm like, we're still good. We're not great yet.
We're not there yet.
Because we're not there. Now, it doesn't mean we won't get there, but
correct.
We're not there. We're not there. And
I'm with you, brother.
And those are difference makers, and it has zero to do with guys getting hurt. Those look, I mean, we do all the things in strength conditioning to help make that happen. There is some luck involved in that. Okay. I don't care what anybody says about what they do. All right. I don't give a shit whether it's Tony Holler or any of the strength conditioning guys we have. They all do great things. But for guys to say that we don't get injured because we did all the right things strength and conditioning wise is bullshit, quite honestly.
100%.
You can have less injuries because of you're doing certain things right. Absolutely. Instead of if you're not doing Oklahoma's every day, you won't have 15 concussions in the season. You might have one or two but it doesn't mean you're going to eliminate it, right? By not doing Oklahoma's. You might still have a kid get dinged up in a game. Okay. You might. Just because you do all the right things, strength and conditioning wise, or speed wise, or RPR,
doesn't mean that stuff's not going to happen, right? Like breaks are going to.
You're not going to get injured.
Break a femur, you're going to break a femur. It's just part of it.
It's part of it. So when guys get on that soapbox, I'm always like, hey, yes, less injuries.
You're not God.
I buy into less injuries. I do not buy into the zero injury thing. Like I don't buy into it. What happens? A kid is walking down the hallway and someone bangs into him. He trips, and I
heard this the other day. One of the podcasts I was listening to the other day. He's like, "Hey, this is only the second time it ever happened to me. We were, getting ready for homecoming, and we were having a pep rally, and they were doing tug of war, and the starting running back rolled his ankle, doing tug of war at the pep rally, night before the game. All right, well, what are you gonna do? Like,
what are you going to do in that? Obviously, you're not doing tug of war next year, but something else. Like there are random things that happen.
And it might not even have to do with injuries, right? Like we've seen grandma and grandpa pass away on a Thursday, and we're flying out for the funeral this weekend, and it is what it is, man. Like that shit happens. It's you can't factor that into it, right? What you can do, you yourself in the best situation so that if that happens, you are okay with what's going to happen with it, right? Like, look, everyone of the receivers in my group know the foundation of the playbook. That if you call a foundational play, right, I'm comfortable with any one of the 12 going into the varsity game. Now, they might not be ready for the smoke, right? And they might not be the fastest guy or the guy that's going to catch it. They're going to know what the hell's going on. And they're not going to be in a situation where, Coach, I don't know what we're doing. They're going to know. That's the best I can do, brother. Like, you know what I mean? It is what it is. Prepare each one of those kids so that if their role or their number has to get called in some way, shape, or form, They're ready to go. And here's the other part too. They're confident in going out there and saying, you know what? If coach is going to put me out here, then he must think I'm okay enough, right? It's almost a mind game into tricking them into saying, not maybe tricking's the wrong, making them believe that they're good to go. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Influence them to understand that they're ready. I think that
especially with less talented guys that know I'm not as fast, I'm not as big, right? I don't catch as well, but coach is still confident in me, right? He still believes in me enough that I can go out here and get this thing done. And then you see a lot of craziness happen with high school kids.
I try to tell kids this right before the game all the time, and I tell them this the night before, after our last practice. I always tell them, you have to go as fast as you humanly can go in the game, and if you make a mistake,
that's okay.
That's okay. Even if we're on you about it, you still have. If you're going slow, that doesn't help. You go as fast as humanly possible doing your job. And then I will tell you this. I tell them if you go as fast as you can and you give everything you can every play, it will work out. It will work out.
Yep. I promise you. I tell them all the time, Dave. Like I tell them all the time. All you have to do when you go in this game is you have to give me every single thing you have. That's it. Look,
like I went on the field
everything you have.
What am I? I
know you don't want to drop the ball. I know you don't want to give a touchdown. I know. We know that you're at least. I know you're out there giving me everything you have. And if stuff doesn't work out, that's okay. I'm gonna get on you, but it's not because of this. Right? Like understand I'm in your corner. Oh man, it's
one of the things that like people always I found it like assistants maybe even you, I don't know, maybe even you felt this way when you coached me, but one of the things that I've always been big on, and not everybody likes it, okay, is when I do the quick correction if I see something done wrong in the game. So, for example, if you're supposed to run a rocket screen, okay, and you're supposed to take a hard step and then come down the line, right? And you just back up, or you just, you know what I mean? Just like, and you get tackled for a loss. And then you're like, oh, this place stinks. No, your job. I immediately I corrected. I say, hey, come here. What is that? How you're supposed to run the rocket screen? No, this is what you did.
No,
this is what you're supposed to do.
Right.
They immediately get. So I'm big on that. A lot of coaches have a hard time with it, but I say, like, if you don't do it in that moment,
they're not going to remember.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it the rest of the game.
They're going to do it wrong. You have to correct it right away. There's not that many of those corrections, right? Like, because you put them in the right spots to do what they're supposed to do. But I also have.
The younger the kid, the more that happens. The younger the kid, the more that happens. But in high school, it definitely happens still. Look.
Oh yeah.
There's a parochial school kid that's a superstar who's, at elite level, make those mistakes. Probably rarely kind of make those mistakes. But everyday high school kid who's trying to get better, they do it because, and I use the rock screen as a great example because I can't tell you how many times I've seen people run it wrong, and it's because they're rushing to get the ball. They think they need the ball now.
This is what I teach them too, Dave. Like, even when you're running your route, right, and you say, "Hey, I want you to get 15 yards, work back to 12," or "Hey, I want you to take 4 steps here." They're going to cut it short in a game irregardless. That's just what it is. Like, in a game, your mind, everything is sped up. They want to get the ball. They want to do this. They want to do that. Like, you know what I mean? So, look, tell them the depth 2 yards deeper than it should, because then you'll get the real depth.
Great point.
Like, if I want you to run at 10, I'll tell you to 12.
Their route short. High school kids, and I don't mean, when I'm saying average, I don't mean that they're not good. I'm just saying, like, your normal high school kid that's he always runs the route short. Always. You have to tell them a little bit longer than you have. I used to. People would always be like, "Oh, when you run the comeback, right?" Which was always one of my favorites, and the comeback route, like they shouldn't go beyond 2 yards. And I used to always say, like, you can push it to 13 if you got to go to 10, because they still end up at 11 and a half. I don't know why.
And now you catch the pass and you're out of bounds and it's not a first down, right? Because you're white. So look, I tell guys, look, if you're running a 7 or a corner out, right, aim for the back pylon, because I know they're going to aim because it's going to be a front pylon. It's going to look more of like a deep out than it is a corner. It's just if I tell you're a post corner, take 3 steps to the post because they're only going to take 1. Yeah.
The better they get,
and then they start to see it and they get comfortable in it, and all of those things. Same with a quarterback, man. Like, you know what I mean? Throw it when he's here. That's the problem with
I always tell them my thing in quarterback is I actually tell them to throw it earlier than I'm like, get rid of it now, because they're always hold on to the ball too long. Always.
If there's one thing that young quarterbacks do, they wait till the receiver is open to throw it, rather than, hey, he's gonna be open, I should throw it now. And that's, I think, the difference from, look, you can have a very average high school quarterback, right? Doesn't have to have a cannon, doesn't have to have this, as long as he throws it when it needs to be thrown, and for the most part, somewhere in the vicinity, right, we're okay. I mean, look, I tell the receivers, if you're expecting a perfect ball, you're out your mind, dude. Right?
Usually when you throw it a little early, if you tell them to throw it a little early, the worst thing that happens is it's an incompletion, because the DB hasn't even gotten there either. So that's usually the worst thing that happens. But you're right. Like, they usually wait till he shows open and the DB tracks it back down and makes the play on it. And you're like, oh, like, he was not open. I'm like, no.
I tell my guys, like, they're like, oh, coach, he threw it behind me. He threw it here. He threw it. I said, dude, wait, there's 4, 5, 6. There's guys coming to rip this kid's head off. You think he's worried about throwing it to you and making sure it's on the right shoulder? Like, dude, here's your catch radius, right? Put your arms out as far as you can. Make a giant circle. Any ball thrown there, catch it. Anything now you can lean and do that, catch it, right?
Catch it.
That's your job. Your job's
not going to be perfect. And
it's not going to be perfect.
As I'm telling you, your catch radius, I'm correcting the quarterback onto where he's got to do. So,
I'm telling him. And you know what? Here's the other part too.
I don't care what happens. Quarterbacks are always. That's the difference between the quarterbacks and your receivers. And you're a receiver, so you know this. Receivers are psychopaths. Okay, they think that the ball should be on the money every single time. Perfect. Every single time. Okay, quarterbacks are not. So when you correct them, even if they think they're right, they're going to take that information and they're going to try and make the correction. Receivers will resist. It usually takes 2 or 3 times for them to do it,
because they're stubborn.
I'm the athlete. Just get me the ball where I need it. I'll do what's necessary. We know that, but you're right. Your point is correct. Everyone's running to crush the quarterback. And
he's got a lot of shit going on, dude. Not even that. He's already had to catch the snap, right? Get his eyes where it needs to be. There's 5 guys. There's usually a lineman that blows an assignment, so there's definitely somebody running free.
Blows an assignment on every play.
The play before, he just got crushed because we made him roll, right, or whatever. He's like, dude, I can't feel my toe right now. Like, there's a lot of shit going on. And then the other part about being a receiver is, dude, like, you're going to get hit as soon as you catch the ball. So you better prepare to be hit. Now, if you catch it and you're not hit, bonus, right?
Bonus.
But catch the ball, right? You're going to get hit. So prepare for contact. And then if it's not there, now you can go do all those kind of things. But like, you got to get, how many times do you catch a ball and within 1 to 2 seconds, you're not hit? Like, dude, whether you catch this thing or not, you're getting hit. You might as well catch it and make the crowds ooh for your catch and not for the hit. So prepare for that. But that's hard because in practice, dude, you catch the ball, the whistle gets blown, nobody touches you, you're la-da-da. Like, same thing on defense. You get to a guy in practice, what happens? They blow the whistle. You're not used to grabbing guys and taking them to the ground or continuing to play. I mean, missed tackles are like the number one when you lose freaking games, dude. Like, make tackles, but it's here. We're asking kids to do shit that we don't, dude. Alignment, assignment, execution. Oh yeah, turnovers, right? That's the other thing, dude. If you don't like this, right? If you're not comfortable, either tuck it and get what you can get, or throw this thing away. Don't just throw it up and be like, well, no, man. Like, eat it. I don't care if it's a screen. Like,
unless you got our guy from RBR as receiver who's 6'6", then you can just throw it up.
Well, look, Dave, this is another thing that I've really had to not like specifically, but some of them that I've seen is like, look, man, if you watch an NFL game or a college game, a higher level football game, by definition, a lot of these throws, guys are covered. Dude, you got to once in a while, like, you got to let it fly and trust that dude out there is going to make the play, right? Correct. That's his job. His job is to make the play. You're telling me that a lot of these like wow throws or whatever, guys are like, oh, I better not throw it. He's covered. Dude, that's Justin Jefferson. Here you go, bro. That's Malik Neighbor. Here you go. Like, you got to take a shot, a calculated shot, and let those guys do what they're paid for, bro.
Right.
That's the worst thing in the world, having guys running free or guys that are there and the quarterback doesn't throw it. That's why being a quarterback sucks, dude. Like, you're never right. You throw it to this guy, should have thrown to that guy. You throw it, it's a pick. You don't throw it, it's not. There's a lot to that, man. Guys are like, I could play quarterback. I'm like, yeah, but you don't want to. Screw that. And that might be from firsthand experience because I wanted nothing to do with playing quarterback and had to do it. I hated it. I hated everything. It was just miserable. Dude, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. I wanted no part of having to do all. I just wanted to go out. Cool. If it doesn't, I'm going to block. And then let's go play defense and hit people. Like, that's not a mentality either, though, because the physicality of it, like, it's really hard to find a player nowadays that's like, man, he hits, right? Like, because it's like not allowed. It's frowned upon if you're the physical kid. Because, if you're always going hard in practice, like, oh, come on, bro. Like, what are we doing? It's like, dude, I'm playing football, right? Like, that was the greatest part of the sport. You got to hit somebody and not get in trouble. Like, dude, it was awesome. Like, you're pissed because the girl saw somebody else. Go to practice, hit somebody, right? You're pissed because your mom, like, took away your phone because you're an idiot or something. Go take it out in practice. Like, you're allowed. You're supposed to. Our guys are just like, nah, I'm good. I'm okay.
By the way, it's amazing. Those guys from RBR are really doing good. Bailey and Lane Bailey and
we'll see this week. Yeah, here.
Who are they playing?
They have a big one this week.
Oh, who are they playing? Oh, Manasquan.
Yeah.
And then they got Mid-South.
Saturday.
Then Mid-South.
Then they have Mid-South, who's coming to.
Who's gonna get better?
But look, it's just like anything, right? Like, you got to play schedule, and it's, are you there yet? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna play really good teams. Manasquan's a really good team. It doesn't matter if they're good, bad, or indifferent.
North. How are they in C?
They should be
They're not in B. They should be in B.
Well, they've not been very good, dude. They've not been very good. Yes, they should be. But they haven't been very good. Look at their records the last couple of years. Plus, they've had, they got now. This year's a new coach.
Yeah. Okay. That maybe that's maybe I didn't realize it wasn't that good. Yeah, because they're gonna come together now. So Mid South
Well,
has
listen,
Mid-South
and
still has
Manasquan,
a tough schedule. They still have
Now has
Rumps,
yeah, dude.
and then they got Mid North.
The,
That's Thanksgiving though. That doesn't even count.
yeah, and that does, and obviously, look, we got. Let's see,
Other
this
than
is
Pride.
there's three regular season games left, right? And I believe three regular season, so the playoffs are really starting to take shape and form. They changed some things now with the playoffs where geography is going to play a bigger role when it comes to where they go in terms of for us down here it's group for me it's group 3 central or group 3. It's obviously 1 through 16 make the playoffs, 1 and 2 become the ones, but other than that, like they used to kind of snake it in terms of whatever. Now it'd be more geography based, so you could have a lot of shore teams, like group 4 central might be 4 or 5 short playing each other because of geography is going to play. They don't want guys traveling all over the place, which you get it, right? But at the same time, I look at it like, hey, what if you're one of those teams that now has to travel rather than get a home game because of whatever? Like it works both ways, So I don't know. We'll see it. The shore is wild, dude. Right? Like I'm playing probably the number 2 or 3 team in the shore this week. Bunch of hammers all over the place. They're number 4 in group 4. I mean, I've just run the gamut, dude. I've just run the gamut, but it is what it is, man. You play who's on your schedule. Obviously, it's a big rivalry game because it's a school on the other side of town, all this other kind of bullshit. I can't stand that stuff, but I'm different.
You can't stand it. Well,
I hate it. I mean, dude, look, at least we won. They did this fundraiser the other day, right? With Chick-fil-A. And it was, hey, all the proceeds from Chick-fil-A on Monday went to the school on the side of town, right? Like, hey, as many people as you can get in here, we'll give you 20% of the gross and whatever. Tuesday was our day, right? So, I mean, dude, it was wild. Like, everybody go to Chick-fil-A, wear your jerseys when you go. They got to decorate the Chick-fil-A for each school, right? Now, we came out on the top end. That's phenomenal. But what does that have to do with us winning a freaking game? It's just another distraction during the week for like ever. But good for our guys, man. They raised over 14 grand.
Wow. They raised 14 grand. That's good.
Yeah, but they only take home 20%.
They what? What happened?
They only take home Chick-fil-A only gives you 20%.
Oh, they get you.
I mean, look, it's still 3 grand, but they also get like now the team gets a catered party from Chick-fil-A, and one day Chick-fil-A is giving the school 200 like breakfast sandwiches. Like, here you go. Like, good. So at least we won that part.
Won that part. That's great. Oh.
Look, I saw your buddy. I saw your guy from Old Japan, the quarterback, leads all of North Jersey. And what is it, passer rating or something?
Yes.
Stuff.
He's number 1. He's.
And they had the names flipped too. For they screwed up on the Bergen Catholic quarterback and the Bosco quarterback. They had the names flipped, so I'm sure that's somebody called was pissed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Trey Tagliaferri is the quarterback for BC, not Bosco, and Joe Shane's son is the quarterback for Bosco. They had the names flipped on that list that you posted, so maybe we should call George. Yeah, maybe we should call George. Bosco's got St. Joe's this week. That would be.
Bosco has who? St. Joe's?
Yeah, Joe's is 4 and Bosco's 1. Bosco's the 1 seed. Who's UConn have this week?
We're off this week.
Got it. Those buys must be nice.
Yeah, there's a bye. So it's which is good. Which is good. That's a
Which means UConn should be on the recruiting trail.
I don't know. Who knows? I don't know any of that.
Well,
I don't know any of
maybe
that
we'll
stuff.
see. Yeah, listen, all those that off week, man. That's when you see, what's his name out there in his helicopter, James Franklin.
James Franklin. I don't know.
I mean, look, Rutgers plays Washington.
Oof, that's tough.
At Washington, West Coast.
Oh, really?
That's not fun. But hey, tomorrow should be exciting. Both head coaches. We have a head coach from Montclair State and our head coach from Rowan. Breakfast Bowl this weekend, so we'll get both on tomorrow morning at 10. Talk a little Breakfast Bowl action. Montclair coming off a big win at Kane, and Rowan just had their first loss of the season against Christopher Newport. So 2 teams. Rowan's traveling to Montclair State, so it should be fun. Year 2 of the Breakfast Bowl. Rowan's up 0.
That'll be fun tomorrow. What time are we doing at 10?
10.
Awesome. Cool, man. Cool. I can't wait to do that. That's going to be fun. All right. Till tomorrow. See you guys later.
Go get him, buddy. Put it all together.
All right.